Welcome back, you guys. I'm in the FC. This is Blue Lines CV, and I hope that last night all you guys had a mad time. Now, as you can see, I'm still hanging a tiny bit, and the last thing I really wanted today was such an early kickoff, and it felt like everything was kind of uninspiring. Even when we got the first goal against Brighton, you couldn't really hear the fans sing or react too well, and it was just because everything was too early and people are still recovering from last night. But after today's performance, it felt like the players, in fact, were in recovery themselves. I don't know what they were doing last night. Today, what I saw wasn't good enough. It was not good enough at all. We moved the ball so slowly. We were not moving it from left to right quickly enough. So many individual mistakes. Poor passes, poor hold-up play, poor decision-making as well. It felt like the application today was not on point. And I'm sure Lampard right now is absolutely fuming and angry, because even if we weren't playing well, we should have had enough concentration and dug in deep enough to seal out the win. And to not come with anything after a game like this is disappointing, and it's only going to help the narrative more that we need to reinforce in the January market if we want to get guaranteed Champions League football at the end of this season. If you look at how we attack, we're starting to look very passive, we're starting to look very predictable. And there's not enough quality from the end of most of our attacking plays, with players tending to either overrun the ball, poor shooting decisions, poor shooting technique. And, I think we have to accept that this was going to be part of the game for this season in particular, because for a lot of these guys, it's the first time they are playing at this level consistently. So it's just part and parcel of this development. And I think, I don't like using it as an excuse, but I think we need to keep that perspective open at all times. That is the context that we do need to fall back on. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we accept mediocrity and poor performances. I'm not saying that. Even though we need to understand the context, that doesn't distract from the fact that these guys are playing for us, and we do have responsibilities, and we do need to meet season objectives. It's as simple as that. And it feels like maybe the January window is coming at the perfect time. And if you look at the team right now, maybe some additional reinforcement up in attack could be needed for the team. Maybe even just to have as a possibility to bring on as an option from off the bench. Because at times it feels like Lampard doesn't have too many inspiring choices to make, because, some of the personnel that he has maybe isn't the best to help turn a game around. But anyway, you guys, let's take this game right to the start, and let's start with the lineup. Now, I felt like we all knew that we weren't going to see a 3-4-3 used again, and the most interesting thing was that Reece James was actually in the team, because this was completely contrary to what Lampard said previously, stating that Reece might be 7 to 10 days away from making a return. Now, this is smart man management by Frank Lampard, and I think this is why, in particular, in the first 20 minutes, we really dominated against Brighton and things were very easy. In particular, down that right-hand side, Willian and Reece were constantly combining, linking together, and I feel like their partnership and their understanding is quite good. How many times do you see them swapping positions where Reece is the guy tucked more infield, with Willian being left free, out wide by himself? It works time and time again, and how many times is Reece able to make those underlaps and overlapping runs? And at times today, he was really putting in some dangerous balls. It was a shame that we couldn't constantly create these opportunities on a more consistent basis throughout the entire game, but I'm going to get onto the rest of the game pretty soon. But anyway, let me take things back to the lineup for a second, and playing left back again was Azpilicueta. And it feels like at this point that Lampard just wants Azpi in the team at all costs. And I do understand that, because Lampard understands that to win games, it's not only about your technical abilities and just outplaying a team. A lot of times it's the mental side. You need to dig deep, you need to concentrate, you need to have experience of how to deal with certain situations on the field at all times. And with Azpilicueta, these are guarantees that you get from the player. But we keep sacrificing the footballing side for these qualities, and I just don't see it working. Now, throughout the game today, I thought some of our wide players on the left-hand side weren't too great in particular. I'm looking at Pulisic. Hudson-Odoi, his cameo was okay, but he wasn't really able to do anything. So it was both very quiet from both these players. But of course, it was going to be even quieter for them, because the support they had down their flank and Azpi just wasn't doing it the entire game. Was not a consistent overlapping presence for these guys to really, help take a man away from them. It's very hard to be receiving the ball out wide like that and having two players on you, because that's what teams are doing tactically to force you to play passes back. And you're hoping that your fullback is going to make those runs, those overlapping runs to, create something in attack to really help you play out from these phases. But you don't get that from Aspie. And I just think at times, and I've said this quite a lot, you guys, Lampard needs to fully embrace the attack and fully embrace the merits of the team. For me, I need to see Emerson and Reece playing more. If you look at how teams like City and Liverpool play, they both have fullbacks going forward together. And I think with just how good Reece and Emerson are at just keeping the ball, that gives us that safety of being able to actually control the game in the opposition half. And that's what we need to do more of. Forcing Aspie in the team, because for me, it feels like he is being forced into the team just to bring in some qualities that, throughout the entire 90 minutes of a game, don't really add up to prove why Aspie should be in the team for these reasons. As I've said, at the cost of our attack. I feel like if Emerson was playing, you'd have seen Pulisic more involved in the game because he'd have a man away from him, giving him more space to play in. And this is what you need to do to just understand and accept the current level of some of these players. With Pulisic, as he does get older and develops more, he's going to add more to his game. He's going to get stronger. He's going to take more brave dribbles, I feel, because he'll have a stronger body to actually ride the impacts of fouls and challenges. Right now, I feel like Pulisic isn't as brave at times, which is understandable. He's very small. This is a very physical league, and that's something I accept and I sympathize with. And sometimes we have to view some of these young guys with a sympathetic eye because we're looking at them at their current level. We're not looking at these guys in their final form in that sense. So it's about embracing the limitations and maximizing the qualities of what these guys do. And for me, if you've got Aspie there, you're not really doing these guys any favors. But anyway, getting back into the game, surprisingly, we do take the lead pretty early on. Aspilicueta getting the goal, Tammy forcing a shot from a corner, Aspie doing very well to stay on side, getting the goal, and you're thinking, okay, we've got an early goal against a Brighton team that's clearly struggling against us. We're really splitting these guys open down the flanks time and time again. Surely it's a waiting game until the second goal comes, and you guys, this is the eternal struggle of this team. The eternal struggle. We cannot get that decisive goal to really take a game away. I feel like some of you guys are going to be a bit annoyed by what I say, but of course, this is going to be a thing when a lot of these young guys are playing at this level for the first time. That's understandable. When you turn to the experienced players, well, these experienced guys have never been players to get 5-10 goals a season. Never consistently. So we already knew what to expect from their output already. So I definitely feel like this does play some of the reason. But I personally feel like, for most parts, it came down to very poor application today. Very poor. I mean, how many individual sloppy pieces of play have we consistently seen? Poor quality long passes, short passes, 1-2s, give and goes, shots, etc, etc. We saw all of that, and when you're seeing so many individual mistakes throughout a game, well then it explains even more about how the players are thinking and how they're performing right now. And maybe this comes down to the lack of imagination in our build-up play in the final third. Now, I'm trying to understand why that's the case. I feel like maybe the team does get bottlenecked because a lot of what good this system does comes down to quality wide play from the fullbacks. Now, of course, Lampard has not been able to rely on Reece every single time, but I'm sorry, when Emerson is around, you're going to take him out the team to play Aspie there, who doesn't really add anything. And especially against a team like Brighton that you're going to have more possession against, then what was the benefit? I didn't understand. To just force all our plays down the right-hand side is very predictable. And of course, Brighton were able to adjust tactically to match us afterwards. Then the game became completely different. It became 50-50, and things got very difficult from that point in time. I get that Lampard wants Ben to come. He's going to come in the summer, I understand that. But, don't use Emerson as an example. Listen, Emerson's form has fluctuated a bit since he came back from injury, but to not play consistently is also going to play a part in him not reaching his form quicker. Before Emerson's injuries, which were inflicted by Lampard twice for rushing him back time and time again, his form at the start of this season was excellent. His games against Liverpool, his games in pre-season, his games at the start of the season, he was statistically the best performing left back at the time. His level clearly hasn't been the same since he's returned back. And I think Lampard needs to do more to bring back his form because we really need Emerson as the season ends. Honestly, guys, it's such a shame that I have to start the match review on so many negatives because, you know, in particular, the midfield was really poor. I thought some of Jorginho's passes, yeah, some of the forward passes, you know, for me, Jorginho is the playmaker in our own half. But he's not really the playmaker in the second half. It feels like his passing at times is, I don't know, there's something too flat about his passes. There's not enough weight on the ball. Like, for example, you know, it's a brief example. Compare how Callum makes his crossfield balls. It's like he has that speed and that dip on the ball. Jorginho doesn't pass it like that. It's a lot more flatter and area. And I feel this is why a lot of his forward passes just don't have that quality every single time. I didn't think his performance was too great. Can say it felt like he was very tired today. And if anything, instead of taking off Mason, he should have taken off Kante. But that's hindsight. And at the time, we thought that with a midfield three like that, we should be able to see it out the game. You know, the Lord had different plans today. And it seemed like he really just blessed jahanbakhsh. Honestly, I'm not even going to try to attempt his name because I'll just completely butcher it. But to score a goal like that, a bicycle kick like that, out of the blue, out from nowhere. You know, they didn't even threaten that type of quality throughout the entire game. So I can understand why everyone's so flat-footed. And, you know, it was a shame. You know, a shame in particular for Kepa, who made some world-class saves today. I feel like his form has gotten better. In player ratings videos, I have been a lot more positive on what he's been doing. And, you know, it was good to see from him today. May he continue that form because, you know, he really kept us in the game. Brighton could have won this game and we could have left this game with absolutely nothing. But if anything, you guys, it's telling us that January reinforcement is needed. And again, you know, expect to hear more thoughts and opinions later on. I'm not too sure if I'll release a player ratings video because I don't think most people will care to watch it after such an uninspiring performance like this today. And I don't blame you. You know, try and salvage your day today. It's the start of the New Year's. Be positive. You know, keep that energy high. Do something good and make things happen this year, you guys. That's the motto. And on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Nini FC. This is Brighton CV. See you guys in the